Quick draw.
Today on Ancient DOS Games, we're doing Tyrian 2000. And I don't even know where to begin. This game is just packed with features. It's like you turn this game on and you're just flooded with options. Okay, you're not flooded with options, but the more you play this game, the more you realize that it is just brimming with stuff. Some of it good, some of it bad. So we're going to go through it all, and before we actually get started, let's take a look at the game stats. Now, Tyrian 2000 actually came out as just plain Tyrian, released by Epic Mega Games in 1995, and it later became Tyrian 2000 when XSIV Games released it in 1999. That's right, it actually came out a year before the 2000 in the title. Though there's actually another version of the original Tyrian as well, so there's actually 3 different main versions of the game. There's one that only has the first 3 episodes, and then the 2.0 version released by Epic Mega Games later on would have a 4th episode, and XSIV Games added a 5th one when they released it. It's a 1 to 2 player vertical 2D shooter. It features 320 by 200 by 256 color VGA graphics. It supports multiple sound cards, though my favorite one is a Sound Blaster. Really, it's going to depend on the kind of music and sound quality you want. Or not so much the quality, because the music actually sounds completely different if you decide to go with MIDI or with the Sound Blaster mode. So you pick whichever one you feel sounds the best to you. And as for its release date, this is the part you want to hear. This game has been freeware since 2004. You can go download it to your heart's content from www.freewebs.com/WorldTreeGames. And while you're there, you can actually find some other versions of Tyrian that were planned for the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance, though they never saw the light of day. Now, before I get into too many of the features of this game, let's just go over a couple of the technical details, just for the people out there who might be interested in that sort of thing. This game was actually written in Pascal, of all languages. Now, you gotta consider that this game came out in a time when almost any game that was released for shareware or commercially was written in C or C++. So being written in Pascal, firstly, makes it really different in that sort of sense. And the other thing, too, is that it uses a 16-bit DOS extender. And that probably means nothing to most of you, but trust me when I say that alone is really weird. Most games of the time were using 32-bit DOS extenders. Yeah, if you know what that means, then I'm sure you're going to really enjoy that little piece of trivia, but if you don't know what it means, ignore it. Let's move on to the good stuff. For instance, the main bulk of the game is actually its story mode, and story mode basically gives you data cubes that you can read, that you either pick up in the levels or are given to you between levels, that give you some information about the universe or the story as it progresses, because there is actually a bit of a story to the game, and it makes very little sense, and has worship of fruit and beer and stuff. Yeah, the story in this game makes about as much sense as, like, driving a nuclear-powered convertible underwater with a monkey giving you directions, which is probably how you ended up underwater in the first place. So yeah, the reason why you're playing this game isn't for the story. You're playing this game to blow stuff up. And trust me when I say there's a lot of stuff that needs blowing up, and you got a lot of weapons to do it with. And when I say that there's a lot of stuff to blow up, I mean like a lot of stuff. I mean, the average 2D shooter will only last like half hour to an hour to get from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. This game, from start to finish in the story mode, will take you at least 3 hours. That is a lot of time to spend 2D shooting your way to the very end. Granted, some people will say the length of this game is one of the things that makes it stand out and really good, but you gotta understand that once you've played through this game once, the desire to play through it again is really diminished by the fact that it takes so long. So, you know, the length of the game, it can be a blessing, it can be a curse. So, it's however you look at it. And besides, there's always the arcade mode as well, and if you play in the arcade mode, things go a little faster since you don't spend time reading story from the data cubes and you don't spend time upgrading. You have to worry about your energy levels. It's much faster when you play it in the arcade mode. Granted, if you play in the arcade mode, you're going to miss out on all the features that the full game provides you, which is what they call the story mode in this game. The full game lets you upgrade your ship, and you have weapon upgrades for both your front weapon, which fires straight forward and does the most damage, and for your rear weapon, which generally fires around your ship. And there's actually 2 different firing modes for many of the rear weapons, so that you can actually change the way it's firing around your ship. And then you have shields, which of course protect you from being destroyed, so it's kind of important. You have a generator, which actually gives you your energy to fire your weapons, and if you drain your energy too far, your shields won't recharge. And, you know, having your shields recharge is kind of important to not dying, you know? And then you have your sidekicks, and you can actually have 2 sidekicks at a time, and they're basically just little pods that sit near your ship, and they fire weapons, either on their own when you fire your weapons, because they're automatic, or if they have limited ammo, you fire them with a different button, and they generally do a lot to help you in battle. So before I get into too many more details, let's just go over some of the other features that this game has quickly, because if I was to go over every feature in detail, this video would be like a half an hour at least. So some of the other features include a 1-player time battle mode, where you're just trying to beat certain bosses as fast as possible. You have a 2-player arcade mode, which is really fun stuff, because both players actually fly completely different ships from what you'd normally be used to. One player fires specifically forward weapons, and the other player fires sort of augmented versions of rear weapons that fire forwards as well. And then you can actually join the ships together, and you get a turret that you can aim in any direction you want. And the 2-player mode is actually modem and network capable as well. So, you know, you don't even have to have both players right in front of the computer. Beyond the game modes, you actually have 6 different skill levels you can play on. Now, the first 3, which are shown immediately, are easy, normal, and hard, but there's 3 other secret skill levels. If you hold Shift and G, you get Impossible skill level, which is actually pretty possible. It's the skill level I prefer to play on. If you hold Shift and right squiggly bracket, you get Suicide skill level, which is actually pretty suicidal. And if you push and hold L, O, R, and D all at the same time, you get Lord of the Game skill level. Because quite frankly, if you can beat this skill level, you are the master of this game. No one is better than you if you can beat this skill level. And no, I haven't actually beaten the game on Lord of the Game skill. The highest I've been able to beat it on is Suicide. I don't know. Actually, that kind of brings us to the Super Tyrian mode in this game, which is actually something that you get by typing Engage on the title screen, but I never play it because it's basically a form of Tyrian where all the cheats have been disabled, you're stuck into Lord of the Game difficulty, though there is actually a way to dumb it down to Suicide, but I don't actually remember what it is at the moment. And basically in Super Tyrian mode, you have to go through the arcade mode on the ridiculous difficulty, and you just get one particular ship that has a huge array of what are called twiddles. I'm not making that word up. It's actually called twiddles. What a twiddle is it's basically putting in a key combination, sort of like you would do for like a fighting game move, like a Street Fighter combo, like where you do the quarter circle and push the punch or something. Well, that's kind of like how it is in Tyrian, as a twiddle is a move that you basically push a combination of keys or joystick buttons or whatever, and there you go, you perform a special move. And I personally think they are really, really annoying, because I play the game with the mouse, and, you know, up, up, down, fire, or something like that. Try doing that with your mouse right now. Try to push it up twice, and then down really fast, and push like the mouse button on the downstroke. It's very hard to do. And just thinking about, you know, having 20 different twiddles you have to worry about in the Super Arcade mode, yeah. And each ship also has its own twiddles when you're playing the full game, so it's just a really annoying feature in my opinion, but you really have to abuse the heck out of the twiddles feature if you want to survive Super Tyrian mode. And there's a whole bunch of Super Arcade modes as well, which are basically, you type a particular passcode on the screen, or like on the title screen. I think the first one you get is Techno, and then there's also Enemy and Stealth, and if you type these words in on the title screen, you get to fly very special ships in a different style of arcade mode, where instead of collecting purple orbs to upgrade your weapons, you instead have to collect the same colored orb as your current weapon twice in a row, and that upgrades your weapons. And the real major difference is that in the Super Arcade mode, you don't get any rear weapons, but the front weapons you can get are really interesting, because some of them you can't obtain in the full game or the arcade modes. So the Super Arcade modes are really interesting diversions, and you can play them on any of the skill levels as well. You're not forced to play them on the lore of the game, thankfully. And if you just want a little diversion, you can just type Destruct on the title screen and play an artillery game. Yes, that's totally correct. You type Destruct on the title screen and you get a special artillery game you can play. And it's even got 2-player support where you can play against the computer or you can have the computer fight itself. It's really interesting having something like this stashed away inside Tyrian 2000. It's like, this is the kind of stuff that is a little more common nowadays where you have like mini games built into full games, but you know, for 1995 this was really neat having this kind of thing in a game, especially for a game that you didn't pay full price for because it was shareware, not commercial release in a box. And some of the last features that come to mind is that in the full game there's actually 3 different bonus games you can play, and they're basically just variations on the main Tyrian game, but they have different rules and different sort of weapons and stuff. The only catch is that if you play one of the bonus games, your ship might not transfer over to the next episode properly, so you gotta be a little careful about that. Generally it's a good idea to just save your game before you play one of the bonus games, just in case. And other than that though, the only other feature that I can think of is, well, look at the setup program. Yeah, there's a secret in the setup program. You just have to push, I think, Shift W or just plain W while you have the detail level selected and you get wild detail, which basically just makes the background all wavy and cool and stuff. It's unnecessary. Just keep it set to Pentium. Now for all the things that make this game really awesome, it does actually have one major drawback. There's very little balancing in this game. Some of the levels in this game are really easy, some of them are notoriously difficult, and it's not helped by the fact that there's no consistency in the weapons either. Some of the most expensive weapons in the game are actually useless pretty much. Like, the heavy guided bombs, for example, are almost a joke. They do very little damage, they have very low rapidity, they don't track enemies that well enough to make the guidance worth it, the extra cost. It's like, they're just completely worthless pretty much. And when you compare that to like the pulse cannon, which is only costs 500 credits for the first level, which is the cheapest weapon in the game, and you consider that it's actually more powerful than many of the other weapons that are more expensive, that's just sad. I mean, even the missiles, the standard missiles as a front weapon are pretty useless as well, so it just gives you an idea of kind of the misbalancing here. I mean, once you end up with a Zyka laser for your front weapon, and end up with Zyka sidekicks, and you're pretty much set. You're never going to get rid of those because they're just too powerful. So that's the major drawback of the game, is the balancing. But, you know, you could get used to that. This game has a lot going for it and a lot of gameplay. So we'll just cover the episodes in brief, and then we'll talk about, you know, how to actually get this game working. The first episode was the episode that was included in the shareware version of this game, and it's actually got a lot of interesting variations and a lot of secret levels. Like, I mean, one of the secret levels in this first episode is actually, unless you know how to get it, you're never going to figure it out. The way you get to this secret level is basically, don't destroy every ship in the first formation of ships that come on the screen. And when you get to the end of the level, you'll fight an extra ship that'll drop an orb to this secret level. And that's actually a really good secret level, because you actually get a really powerful shield system that you'll keep through the entire game if you can afford it, because it's really expensive. But, so yeah, the first episode it's an introductory episode. It has a lot of variation in levels. When you get to Deliani, or I think that's how it's pronounced, it seems like it should be Deli something, because, you know, everything in this game is food related. But when you get to Deliani, it's actually a really difficult level compared to all the other levels in this episode, so be prepared for that. And even the Savara levels are pretty difficult, but they're not nearly as difficult. They're only more difficult if you're playing on the higher skill levels, because then all the shots fired by the turrets go ridiculously fast and they're really hard to dodge, and there's a lot of them. The second episode is actually, I don't know, it's kind of a letdown, because a lot of the second episode takes place in just blank space. So you get to watch a lot of stars fly by in the second episode. It's nah, it's kind of boring. The first couple levels are okay though, because you get the Torm as your first level, which is, you know, lots of grassy plains and nice calm music, and you fight a mini boss and then the standard boss, and you know, it's a good level, but it kind of goes meh for the rest of the episode pretty much. Until you get to the Griffin, and then the Griffin is like this, whoa, it's a big bird attacking you in space. It's like, what is this? Well, okay, it's not a bird, it's a dragon, but you get my point. And then when you get to the third episode, it's like, the third episode is kind of interesting because you first of all have this one level halfway through it where you destroy these things that are floating around. You suddenly have 4 secret warp orbs, and it's like, 4 of them, it's like, where are they going to take you? Well, 2 of them take you to one particular level, and 2 of them take you to another particular level, and you just kind of gotta get lucky getting the level that you actually want to go to, because one of them isn't really that great, and the other one will actually get you some really neat stuff. So, you know, it's luck of the draw there. And then there's also the bonus the bonus level in episode 3, Maces. This level will haunt you for a long time. There's no enemies to blast, but you have these giant maces spinning around and these wooden blocks, and touching these things will just basically destroy you. It's like, this is a level that will really haunt you, and it's supposed to be a bonus level, but it's actually coded in as a regular level, so you have to get through this. Good luck. That's all I can say. Now, episode 4 is actually pretty interesting too, because this episode will actually introduce a bunch of new weapons, because it was the extension episode for the 2.0 version of the original Tyrian, and it's got a lot of interesting stuff to it, and I don't really have much to say about this episode. It's just an all-around fun episode. Of course, then you got episode 5. Episode 5 feels like just a tack on. There's a lot of split paths you can take, but for the most part, episode 5, it doesn't really have graphics to the same standards as the rest of the game. A lot of the graphics sort of blend in together. They don't really stand out. They're not as colorful. Episode 5 feels like a black sheep, really, compared to the rest of the episodes. Like, even compared to episode 2, because at least episode 2 kept the same graphical consistency, but episode 5, it almost feels like a completely different game. And it does introduce some new weapons, though, so, you know, it has its fun stuff. And really, how can you go wrong with a congratulations screen that shows bananas? So while I show you some 2-player gameplay with me actually controlling both ships, one with the keyboard and one with the mouse, let's just talk about how you can get this game working in DOSBox. It's actually a really easy game to get working. You can set the cycles count to max, and the game will run perfectly fine. It has really good timing. You can use any of the graphics filters if you want to. Like, I mean, sometimes it makes the game look a bit better, sometimes it doesn't. It's all a matter of preference, really. And I highly recommend you play this game with the mouse, simply because it's easier to move around the screen with the mouse. However, if you want to actually get really good at this game, and I mean like super good, like good enough to beat Super Tyrian mode or Lord of the Game skill, you're definitely going to want to play this with a gamepad then, because it's the only way you're going to pull off the twiddles reliably. Because pulling off the twiddles with the mouse is almost impossible. And that's all I got to say about Tyrian. I could actually go into a lot more detail than this, but, you know, don't want these episodes to run too long, because, let's face it, Tyrian is just jam-packed, and it's freeware, so really, you should just download this game and play it yourself and find all these features on your own. And besides, there's actually oh man, I just remembered this. There's actually a document that you can download that's written by Jason Emery, who's one of the designers of this game, and it basically lists every single thing secret about this game. And trust me when I say it's a really big list. If you don't want to spoil anything, don't download that document, just download the game and play it. And that's all I gotta say. Stay tuned for episode 4, where I'll be reviewing a game made by somebody in Finland. I'll bet you have no idea what game I'm talking about, and that's exactly how I want it to be, so stay tuned.